Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Adam.
I'm Norm.
And I'm Frank.
Frank
Hey,
Ippolito.
Frank Ippolito,
Hey, guys.
everybody. We have more than just Frank today. We are actually partially ensconced in Frank's cave, in Frank's sanctum.
Oh my God, yeah. So for people who don't listen to Frank's Creature Geek podcast, who records in this office, this is the office of Frank's workshop that I'm in, and
It's a little messy right now because it's busy down here.
it's very busy down here. It's always fun. I'm down here a couple times a month. We shoot with Frank for a bunch of videos that you see on the site, and we're working on some cool projects for some conventions, upcoming conventions this week. But you have a lot of stuff here, Frank.
Yeah,
Well-
it's not as impressive as Adam's man cave, but it's my own little man cave.
But, I'm seeing some things to covet. I see a Eames chair in the background there, which I love.
It's a replica. I can't afford a real one.
I've owned 2 replicas in my life. I can't afford a real one either. There's I see the beautiful Overlook Hotel carpet blanket there, and are those must be Billy bookcases that I'm looking at.
yes,
So
they are.
It feels very familiar. Look, I've got some Death Star plans here.
Nice.
Oh.
I've got Totoro. So
Yes,
I
yes.
feel like
Got
I'm in good company. Ooh,
Some
Michael
lightsabers.
Michael Stevens bought me a present. He bought me a 120-sided die.
What?
Nice.
Whoa. Does it land evenly?
It lands evenly, man.
Wow.
Is that freaking
That's
crazy?
insane. Yeah.
I also got some lovely gifts from one of the local R2D2 builders clubs here on the road.
Nice.
I gave
Yeah.
a bunch of free tickets to Replica Prop Forum members. So on many nights, I have a couple of our PF members coming through the meet and greet. It's been very sweet.
And thank you for giving tickets to my cousin in Cleveland.
My absolute pleasure. That was, you know how I love Cleveland so much. I had dinner with my friend Sonia and her family, and we went to Bold, which was fantastic. And then Frank, we went to Mitchell's Ice Cream afterwards.
Nice.
Which
Did
was
you go
amazing.
to Melt Bar and Grilled?
No, I did not get to Melt Bar.
There's a
Grill.
place called Melt that has like different variations of grilled cheese. Like my favorite one there is called the Godfather, which is a piece of lasagna between 2 pieces of garlic toast. And then they have another one called the Dude Abides, which is meatballs and mozzarella sticks in between garlic toast.
Oh my god! And you should probably pour like a White Russian over top of it just before eating it.
Yeah.
Chaser, yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of places you visited, where are you now and where have you been since we saw you last?
Oh my goodness, I've been in a lot of places. We went back to the Carolinas to play Durham, North Carolina. That was lovely. We were in Detroit 2 nights ago at the amazing Fox Theater. The Fox is probably the biggest theater. I think it is the biggest theater we'll play on this tour. It holds over 5,000 people. We did not sell it out, but we sold about 80+%, so it felt like
That's
a full
still a
house.
lot.
Oh yeah, it was a gargantuan crowd. It was really fun. I love Detroit. I went over to Third Man Records and saw their beautiful record pressing plant in operation.
Were they doing any funky pressings with different colors or
Yeah,
materials?
no. I'm not going to spoil anything because they're doing some radically cool stuff over there. Suffice to say, tested. We will visit there and go cover the amazing thing they're doing in the cast in Detroit. And then I went next door to Shinola, and I bought myself a Shinola watch because it was time.
The lightning bolt. Did you get to go behind the scenes and see where they assemble the watches?
That happened this summer, actually, when I was driving Thing 1 and Thing 2 across country. We stopped in Detroit, and I was in the store when one of their designers came by and said, hey, do you want to come over? Because the factory is like 10 minutes from the store in Detroit. The factory is, in fact, housed in the building where they invented the automatic transmission.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow,
Right? Like, that's
awesome.
Detroit for you. And we had my son and I had a wonderful, like, 2.5 hours wandering around Shinola, seeing beautiful leather stuff being sewn together and watches being assembled and bicycles. I mean, it was incredible.
That's so cool.
Yeah. A pro tip for people out there, they also make some fantastic leather watch bands. So even if you can't afford the watch yet, the watch bands are amazing. I love them.
I'm in Pittsburgh right now. I had a day off in Pittsburgh yesterday, so Thing One and I went to the movies, and I want to talk about that in a second.
Yes.
But because Thing One has been getting into photography, and I've lent him some of my old equipment to play with, and he's a really wonderful photographer, he found a photography store near our hotel in Pittsburgh yesterday. So we went to Bernie's Photo, which is over on East Ohio Street in Pittsburgh. Norm, you know what you and I are wishing for when we walk into a photography store? We don't just want them to have a bunch of Canon lenses. We want them to have some stuff for video, some stuff for digital, some stuff for film, and some archival stuff. Bernie's is full stop the best photography store I have ever wandered into in my whole life.
Wow.
All right. Yeah.
I know that's a bold statement,
Yeah.
but small mom and pop places like this that have been there forever are really rare, and the service we got, the interactions we had with Bernie and the crew there was amazing. We bought some stuff for Thing One, but then, as if that's not amazing enough, he says, "Hey, we have a photo museum upstairs. Would you like a tour?"
Yes,
and we're
that's
like,
what I was going to ask. Yeah.
"Yes, we would." And they've got it's called Photo Antiques, a museum dedicated to 19th century photography.
Wow.
So everything they have, and it's thousands and thousands of stuff, is devoted to pre-1900 photography. They've got stuff dating back to the 1840s.
Whoa.
On glass, on tin, on paper, it was, we only had 45 minutes, but I am seriously, we only had 45 minutes. We had an amazing tour. There were 3 rooms we didn't see, and in May, they open a year-long exhibit about Abraham Lincoln and photography, and I swear I'm literally going to make a stop back through Pittsburgh to go to that exhibit because it was so amazing.
And this is just above their store. Most people don't know about it.
Yeah.
People walk in to buy their lenses, buy their film, and that's upstairs. That's the best kind of museum. The hidden, the pet project because they have the building, and that's amazing.
Did you know, for instance, how Kodak invented the little brownie cameras, the little home cameras? Did you know that when they were first releasing them, or when they were releasing them in the at the time women were more of the photographers because men were working, so they made the cameras in all sorts of different colors, like blue and red and brown, specifically to appeal to the female market. This is early 20th century marketing mind. But I didn't realize that photography was geared towards women for decades.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess they didn't want to be the subjects, or the men wanted to be the subjects. Did they have those cameras actually in the museum as well, and all on display in addition to the photos?
Oh yeah, they had over 200 original 8mm and Super 8 film cameras. It really was a museum to film with a jaw-dropping collection. It was beautiful. Wow. $10 each for the tour, and like I said, I'm going back. The museum is called Photo Antiques. Mm-hmm. The exhibit they're about to open in Abraham Lincoln opens in May, and that is there on East Ohio in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it was one of those. It was like the hidden gem you seek every day you walk out of the bus on tour.
That's so. I lived in Pittsburgh for a couple of years around my college age, and I sadly never found that place. So I'm gonna have to make a trip back to Pittsburgh to check it out.
What's really interesting is in the mid 20th century, as these 8mm cameras were becoming home video cameras as opposed to just film production cameras, the ephemera, the manuals and the guidebooks people used to sell books about how to film for home video because it was a whole new medium, and that informs so much of the style of home movies that we see when we get see archival footage. That piece of ephemera, those are also wonderful reads because just like we were over 100 years into filmmaking, that back then for home movies it was a whole new frontier.
Yeah, I like you also really love reading into that ephemera and realizing that, this is the 1930s. There were teams of people putting together these brochures by hand and typesetting them in order to promote these brands and to promote this lifestyle. It's really cool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of some films, you did get a chance to go to some movies yesterday?
Yeah, after we went to the photo store, we went to a theater and we actually did ourselves a double feature. It was
Nice.
like $5 Monday, so we went and saw John Wick 2. I have a very succinct review for John Wick 2.
What?
No.
Adam! I would not have. Wow.
No, John Wick 2 was everything I had wanted a sequel to John Wick to be.
Okay, can we just can we?
Are you
can
the
we
one with
delve into
delicate
this for a
sensibilities
minute?
now?
What's that?
Are you the one with delicate sensibilities now?
No, not at all. Listen, what I want out of John Wick is John Wick to be supernaturally good at what he does.
Which he was.
Yeah.
They made him bulletproof.
I submit, bulletproof-ish. I submit he spends the entirety of John Wick 2 on the run with things not going according to plan, hurt, and not being supernaturally great. He's just being on the edge of surviving almost the whole time.
He killed 141 people in that movie compared to like 76 in the first movie. Trust me.
I also thought the fight choreography was much better for the first one.
Oh, it's interesting.
I really did. I thought it was much... Okay, actually, I should explain what I expect out of fight choreography. I could see that they were using, again, a very Hong Kong style where big hits had 3 different shots to cover them and that kind of thing. But I also felt a lot of the time like I was abandoned in space during the fight scenes. Like I wasn't sure who was hitting and where things were. I just thought the first one was vastly superior. I think
Did we
John
watch
Wick
the same
one
movie?
is at least twice as good as the second one.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if we watched the same movie, Adam. Because I was going to say the complete opposite, where they went further back with John Wick 2. And yeah, there were many, many fight scenes, and especially the last fight scene. I'm not going to spoil the entire movie, but there is a last scene which is a very Game of Death, Hall of Mirror types environment. And there's only so much you can do with a camera movement there. But for the vast majority of the fight scenes, I felt they pulled back and let wide.
Yeah, I got away from that whole
fast cut.
Yeah, the tight, you don't even know what's going on. Like, I love it.
Maybe I could be wrong about my assessment that it wasn't as clear, and maybe just the bad, what I thought of as a super imperfect plot that did not involve me and did not capture me like the first one did, made me angry and made me feel like I was being abandoned. That certainly could be the case. But I just didn't think it was nearly as good.
The story of how the movie got made, the directors, it was 2 directors who co-directed John Wick 1, and they were both stuntmen and stunt choreographers, and it was their first film. Only one of them went on to direct John Wick 2. The other partner left to do another big film and took the DP, took the cinematographer with him, and they had a new cinematographer for John Wick 2. It's a gorgeous film. It's very digitally shot. It's like no film grain, low light, everything. Did you notice, Adam, the thing that I like is that the lighting for John Wick 2, very colorful, and they put all the lighting in scene. Like you saw LED strips everywhere. Yeah.
And I think Keanu, I know there's a lot of people who love and hate Keanu. I think that in the right movie, he's one of the best action stars ever. I think he's akin to kind of a Charles Bronson. You can't give him a wide range, but in speed, in The Matrix, and John Wick, he's just amazing. And I thought he was terrific in this film. Okay, so in the film, there's a bit where he's going for the big kill, right? In the early part of the movie, the tail end of Act 1. And he buys a bunch of different guns and sets them in different places, and you realize he's thinking 3 steps ahead.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that's the only time that happens in the movie, that he's 3 steps ahead of his opponents. And that may be what bothered me, is in the first movie, he was kind of like always a step ahead and you couldn't see into his head. And in this one, just like the ending of him running, I felt like the whole movie he's just running. And that I felt it exhausted me.
You're right that the latter half absolutely, he's
Forrest Wick.
on the run. Yeah, and the first half I thought was more enjoyable when he was setting up, and then the ruins when he was in Italy.
Yeah.
I also liked the villainous. I liked the deaf, the murderous, villainous little woman.
Oh, Ruby Rose. Yeah, she's amazing.
She was fantastic.
Oh my god, she as a
I like the way that they developed
Bond
her character.
villain almost.
Yeah, she was very Bond villain.
Very Bond villain. Had a distinct, like, her personality was her being mute. Not a spoiler, but yeah, she was a great character.
So man, I'll watch it again with you, Norm, when it comes out.
I would implore you. That's my hope. Like,
okay,
maybe get rid of, like, going into it a second time, having different expectations, knowing what the plot is going to be about, and just focusing on the choreography and the action. I think you might appreciate it a little differently.
I will tell you that Thing 1 also found the movie to be a basic mess, like I did.
Huh. Yeah, and I mean, a movie like John Wick, all I want to see is Keanu, like, shooting people and, like, very creative ways of, like, him shooting people, and that's it. That movie was wall to wall. I mean, there was no, like, kind of build to it. It all kind of felt like it just happened the whole way through. It wasn't like there was a crazy, like, even though the end scene was kind of up, but it was all, like, the same level. But that's what I wanted. I just wanted to see a bunch of shooting. Just like in Pacific Rim, I want to see robots punching monsters. That's it.
Yeah.
Like... And I'm happy.
I feel you. Look, I've always been the guy who, when a beautiful comic book comes out, I only care about the plot. Like, I need the stakes. I want those stakes. I want those storytelling stakes to run deep. And I just felt like John Wick 1 did those stakes better.
There's a time and a place for story, and I don't think that John Wick is it.
Okay. On the flip side, the other film we saw was Get Out, which I'm here to say is, I'm going to curse everybody, it was a fucking perfect movie. Holy cow.
I thought it was very good.
Dude.
I don't think it's as perfect as people think it is, but I thought it was very good.
Well, here's the thing I want to say without a spoiler, because I really... so let's talk about Get Out without any spoilers if we can, because I didn't know anything except the first trailer going in. And I've avoided all the articles about it. And I think that's really to be recommended. But here's what I was really surprised by. It's scary, but it's not like Ringu's scary. It's Hitchcock scary. Jordan Peele has made a Hitchcock film with all the formalist suspense and foreshadowing and foreboding and iconography that Hitchcock would have weaved in. And there is not a single loose end. Like, every single shot is this arrow towards the total plot, which is beautiful on so many levels. I mean, it was thrilling. It was really fun. It was really scary and deeply satisfying.
Now, I'll completely agree with you with all that. Now, a lot of the reviews that I've been seeing call it a horror movie. And I've had this conversation on my podcast before. There's no supernatural element in it. No. So I don't think it's a horror. I think it's a thriller, and people are just dummies and keep saying horror because it's scary.
And I think it's genuine. What's really funny is if you watch old Hitchcock movies, you're like, that's scary. But the journey that the main protagonist goes through in Get Out is completely akin to what Jimmy Stewart goes through in Vertigo. Mm-hmm. It is completely similar to The Birds in its in the oppressive atmosphere that he weaves filmically, visually, texturally.
As a viewer, you're unnerved as the main character becomes unnerved.
Yes, and boy, has he given a main character who is... this is, again, I've quoted Raymond Chandler a lot, but a good plot would be no adventure if it did not happen to a person fit for adventure. And our protagonist in Get Out is really smart and really trying to understand what the hell is going on, and you're with him, and it's freaky, and this what turns out to be what's going on is so much weirder and cooler and far out than you imagined it was going to be.
So is there an aspect of comedy or weirdness in it that harkens to Jordan Peele's previous work?
No, I mean there's some uncomfortable jokes, but I don't think it's not a comedy at all. Like,
it's not a comedy, but there are a couple of absolute belly laughs, right? I mean, he definitely plays with a little Tarantino where in the midst of really horrifying stuff, he gives you a couple of belly laughs, especially with a couple of his phone calls to his mate.
Oh, yeah, that's right. His buddy was the comic relief.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, his buddy's really good. You're right. I forgot about that.
Everybody in the movie is incredible. Allison Williams is terrific. Bradley Whitford is terrifying.
Unrecognizable.
Yeah. Catherine Keener, also one of my favorite actresses for forever, is also amazing in it. I don't want to tell you more about their performances because I really want everyone to go to this without... So, Norm, we should do a spoiler cast of Get Out because I think it's really worth breaking down some of the film iconography to talk about it.
It's very good. Yeah.
All right. Homework to watch. And both of you guys, I assume, have not watched Logan.
No, I haven't seen Logan yet.
No. Logan, also a fantastic film. And I think it's a perfect fitting end to Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine.
No,
he says he's
don't
going to
say
retire. Well, he says he's going to retire after this.
Do we get a short Wolverine now?
I don't know. He's pretty tall. Logan would highly recommend that as well.
I can't wait. It's on our plans to go see a matinee. We may see a matinee of that today because I talked to a friend of mine who's a screenwriter in New York, and I said, "Is it going to be good?" And he goes, "Are you kidding? It's the easiest movie in the world to write. Of course, it's going to be amazing."
What was the thing that Neil Gaiman tweeted recently? He said, "With any, you can make any story better if your second sentence is and then the murders began."
It wasn't Neil Gaiman's suggestion, but he was playing along, and I saw that meme, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
that's funny,
and it totally works for Logan. It works. The murders begin.
Logan wakes up in the desert. It's hot, and then the murders began.
Yep. It's funny. We recorded last week before the Oscars, and I don't think any of our predictions came true because no one could have predicted how the Oscars could have ended last week.
I will tell you that. So I avoided them. I did not on purpose, but I was on the road and I couldn't get a clear signal, and I just haven't gotten around to watching them. But my wife and my friends who were watching live at the time, they suspect that they suspected that it was a planted mistake at the end of the Oscars to drum up Miss Universe style attention onto the Oscars.
That's on the reputation of the big accounting firm, PwC.
Hey, look, I said never ascribe extreme competence where extreme incompetence could also be the solution.
Right. Yeah, sometimes they read exactly the same. But one thing I wanted to talk about, especially since we have Frank on this week, is the makeups effect. Like the other meme that came out of the Oscars is now Suicide Squad is an Academy Award winning film. and there are plenty of films that win other categories, that not for acting and not for directing, and Suicide Squad won for best makeup.
Well, besides the fact that I don't agree with the judge, I think that Star Trek should have gotten it. That's beside the point. I think it's completely rude and completely wrong the way that this meme has popped up. They're putting this gorgeous like coral alien makeup next to Harley Quinn. I think a little bit more appropriate would be the coral alien next to Killer Croc, because that makeup was gorgeous.
Right.
And when you're talking about a makeup Oscar, it's not a prosthetics competition. So a lot of people go, "Oh, well, this had better prosthetics." There's so many things that come into account when you're talking about a makeup Oscar, and the way that this happens, the way that these movies even get nominated are, the movies are submitted to the makeup branch of the Academy, and then the makeup branch picks like the top. It's like they go from 7 down to 3, and then those 3 go to the General Academy to vote. So they've already been sort of vetted by peers as to this is what's Oscar worthy. So I don't care what you say. Like if you're nominated for an Oscar, that's important because your peers have vetted you as these are some tough films or some technical achievements. And so for people to be like boo-hooing Suicide Squad, I think that's kind of rude. I mean, yeah, it's the internet. Who cares? But it's kind of unfair because there's a lot of other things that went into that movie. Like, it's not just smeared Harley Quinn makeup.
So what are the things that the makeup department of the Academy voters, what do they look for and what do they vote on? How do you compare a movie like that?
Well, you have to remember that half of the voting body is also hairstylists. So hair plays a big role. I mean, yes, all three of those nominees had excellent work, right? But I mean, there's a lot of characters in there. There's a lot of different scenarios. There's a lot of time jumping. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Suicide Squad. I wouldn't have picked it, but I can't look at it and go, I don't even know why this thing's nominated. There's a lot of tricky work in there, and I mean, doing makeup on a large film like that, and especially with the tribulations that I've heard about that production, I couldn't fathom keeping continuity on that. That seems like insane. So
right.
That's a tough thing to do. So yeah.
And I think what you're pointing out is really valid, Frank. These are industry professionals who, like you, look at a film like that with a completely different eye towards what is executed, but also how it's executed, how the story gets told. There are subtleties to how those stories get told that a civilian would never spot or realize is ludicrously difficult.
And it's because of those subtleties that sometimes they're recognized, because like, every movie has makeup, every movie has costumes, but sometimes it's what you don't see, and the things like Logan, going back, incredible makeup because they made Hugh Jackman look really old, not just because of the gore, but because they could have him convincingly play this someone who's been living for 196 years on screen.
Yeah.
What did you think, Frank, of Dallas Buyers Club winning Best Makeup?
That was also a tricky show to do on a very low budget. I know the makeup artist that did that, and that she did have that was an independent film, more or less. I mean, that's not a $200 million, tentpole film.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky film to do, and there's a lot of, besides the fact that those guys lost a ton of weight for their roles, those are still tricky, very subtle character makeups, and those, that's very deserving. Now, there's other films, in other years that I don't think should have won. Weird Things are nominated and stuff like that, and I think that all of the categories are not immune to politics or immune to advertising or favoritism like that. That happens on occasion. Yeah. Again, but I mean, I would have picked Star Trek, but Suicide Squad is not like, it's not like, what are you thinking?
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah, and it's also one of those categories, like people say how sci-fi films will never win Best Picture because that's not what people want to recognize. On makeup, it feels like it's the opposite, where people like, they want to see the flashy thing win, or they want to see the most transformative thing win. Yeah,
but transformative isn't always what the Academy's looking at, and what the peers are looking at. We talk about this on my podcast all the time. Like, doing a big, bloody, gory makeup is not something that most of my peers are super impressed by. Like, yeah, there's really nice ones done, but you can do like really simple nose makeups, like just like super small prosthetics, like things that you'll never ever see. And that's way more impressive to me and my peers than big, crazy, over-the-top monsters. And that's, I think that's what the Academy looks for, is those little subtle things.
Well, and it's specifically, if the job is done right, you shouldn't notice it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that means that it's harder to spot. That means that the public is not going to be impressed by the same thing that the people who understand how difficult the work is are.
Yeah, I remember that Tom Hanks movie, Road to Perdition?
Yeah.
Halfway through the movie, I go, is he wearing a nose? And sure as hell, Tom Hanks had a little prosthetic nose on the whole movie.
Wow.
Or if you think about, what was that movie? There was a hockey movie called The Miracle, where Kurt Russell had to be the hockey coach. He's got a nose, just a little nose prosthetic on. The whole movie, you never see it. One of the most, gorgeous, subtle little changes. And those things are more impressive to me than big, crazy monsters.
Adam, it's why Frank has stickers for his Creature Geek podcast. Yeah. What do they say? It says like,
you can right there if you can grab it. Yeah, we made stickers.
There are little stickers here that says, never underestimate the effectiveness of a solid nose makeup. and it's little nose.
Wow,
right
that's really specific.
Yeah, well, it is. But that, I think that, people that want to get into special effects or prosthetics, I mean, especially if you want to work on movies and stuff, that is something you should live by. Like, pull off a good nose makeup, and then we'll talk.
Frank, you're bringing up something really specific, which I've also said about model making, which people say, hey, what should I have in my model making portfolio? And I always point out, look, I've looked at hundreds of portfolios, and everyone has their arty thing in there. The spaceship that they designed. The spaceship that you designed doesn't tell me anything about your skills. It does as a designer to a certain extent, but because I don't know what it should have looked like, I don't know how well you did executing it. But if you have a 57 Cadillac in your model making catalog that you built from scratch, that tells me everything I need to know about how useful you will be to me on a crew.
Yeah.
Wow.
Attention to detail. Yep.
So speaking of movies, I watched another one this week on the recommendation of Thing One, Thing One is out with me on tour for a week. He's on spring break from school.
I forget which one is Thing One, the taller one or the shorter one?
The shorter one.
Okay. I don't remember which one's 1 and 2.
Yeah. I saw Mike Birbiglia's stand-up special on Netflix called Thank God for Jokes. And if you don't know Mike Birbiglia's comedy, My Girlfriend's Boyfriend, Sleepwalk with Me, and other films and comedy specials, he's amazing, wonderful comedian. He's been a friend of mine for years. Thank God for Jokes is a master class in jokes, in stand-up comedy, and in what he loves about jokes, and it's really, really good. I cannot recommend it highly enough. A very sweet, loving love letter to comedy and why it's so important.
Now, is this on streaming services?
It's on Netflix.
Oh,
Got
great.
it. Great.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
All right, plenty of homework. And I know you talked about it last week, but I don't know why I did this. I had a long flight back. I watched The Accountant. I shouldn't have.
I still haven't seen it.
Isn't
I
it
want to see
amazingly terrible?
It is amazing. It's Jack Reacher 2 terrible.
I haven't seen Jack Reacher 2 either.
And I love Jack Reacher 1.
I saw Jack Reacher 2. I didn't despise it. It's indefensible, and it's not nearly as good as Jack Reacher 1, but it's enjoyable.
But The Accountant, indefensible.
The Accountant. No, The Accountant makes no sense at all. It's literally like, I think they were making two different movies, and they sort of pushed them into one. And the result looks like a crumpled piece of paper.
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny.
Awesome. Well, thanks for checking in, Adam, and we can't wait to hear where you'll be next. I confess, while you're on tour, occasionally I will go on the Twitters and search #BrainCandyLive to see what's going on in the crowds and the audiences, and everyone looks like they're having a ton of fun.
I will tell you, we have a demonstration. We have a demonstration in the show where we go from small to medium to large, and the response to the large portion of this demo got such a big response, we decided to go small, medium, gargantuan. And so I built this new execution of the effect on a loading dock in North Carolina or somewhere. And the first time the crowd saw this thing, I'm not giving anything away. The first time the crowd saw this thing, I've never heard this before. They were like, wow, that was beautiful. Another one! And the whole crowd like screamed for a second execution of this effect. And so we were like, all right, let's do it. And it's happened a couple of times since then. It's super fun to do this show. Michael Stevens and I are just having a blast.
Oh, I can't wait to see the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really, really fun to do. And the crowd response is, I'm having a ball.
Good.
There are plenty of cities left. You go to braincandylive.com. There
Absolutely.
will be details about this leg. Adam, you're planning a fall leg as well to visit all the cities that people who aren't going to be able to make it this leg, maybe more toward the West Coast.
Absolutely, yes, we will. And so those dates for the fall tour will be announced soon. We're still booking that tour, but as soon as we have those dates, you will have them. And if you're coming out to see us on the road here, strap yourselves in because we're having a great time and it's a really fun show.
Well, enjoy your time in Pittsburgh. Frank and I are going to continue working on our Cadillac models.
Send some photos of geeky stuff, Frank. I want to see what you guys are working on.
All right, I'll send you some pictures in a little bit.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Wait. We need to tease something.
Yes, we have one teaser. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's right. Adam, you're coming back in April.
Yep.
There are going to be a bunch of conventions in April. Frank and I are going to be at some as well.
Yeah.
There's going to be Silicon Valley Comic Con. There's going to be WonderCon.
Monsterpalooza.
Yeah. Frank is unveiling a new makeup that he's been working on at...
I've been working on and off on this Peter Cushing Tarkin makeup. I started sculpting it a couple years ago, and I wanted to do this, Peter Cushing likeness makeup, and I'm going to try and get it out at WonderCon. And
who's going to wear it? Are you going to get Doug Jones?
No, I'm going to get my buddy Chuck Lines. He was the one that was Professor Farnsworth, and so he's got a perfect face for it. But we're having a really hard time getting a uniform that I am happy with. I've looked on the internet. I've looked at, it's really hard to get my hands on one of those Anovos ones. So we're just having a hard time. So we have a backup plan if we can't find a uniform. But if somebody's got a uniform and wants to throw one at us...
You're going to do Tarkin in a hotel bathrobe?
Not quite. We have another idea.
A bunny suit.
That's on the list if we can't get a good Imperial uniform. But I want a good one. I don't want to spend the time on this makeup. And that's why I haven't done the makeup yet. I've been trying to... I have it halfway done.
So it's a shout out to anyone out there who may be part of the 501st, who may have an olive green Imperial uniform. We'll pay for the shipping, but if we can loan it for a weekend, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks, Frank. It's lovely to see your shop from here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, come back and hang out more.
I will totally do. All right, guys.
All right.
See you next week.
We'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.